Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tygrax's Corner. This is a place where I discuss my life or topics that interest me that I feel like sharing with the community. Most of the time, it's super personal, but I feel comfortable chatting with you all. I hope all of you have had a good start to your new year. Though I have had many good things to be grateful for, like the growth of this channel, getting such amazing community members like yourselves, it's also been quite rocky, but I'm sure for all of you, like myself, it's been quite exhausting to say the least, to keep things upbeat. So, why don't we just dive into it and talk about what the topic is? COVID. I've never really touched base with my work outside this channel. I've never really hid the fact that I'm a care worker, but it's also been a topic that I have to be very careful about how I talk about it because, confidentiality and all that. But one of the hardest things with being a care worker, though I'm absolutely grateful and feel very privileged to have been able to do this job, is that when COVID started, it became such an extremely stressful job. Now, when I say stressful, I'm not talking about the stress the other frontline workers who worked in the grocery stores or any other like customer service had to go through. I'm not comparing myself at all to anybody else who went through COVID because it's been a struggle for all of us. And I would never personally choose to be a frontline customer service worker because that's just scary. So kudos to any one of you who are listening or anyone who has been working the front lines through customer service where you had to pack people's groceries and be face to face with them every day. That is just, wow, hands down to you. That is scary. But when you're working with clients that are in your charge and you have to take care of them and ensure their health and safety, that they have their own health risks before COVID and they're more susceptible to catching it. It's incredibly emotionally taxing and scary to have that pressure on your shoulders, to have to cater and change your entire life to ensure their safety, as well as yours to make sure that nobody gets sick. It's also tricky because I've had to request my partner that he also has to follow my regime in social isolating, not going to meet anybody, not having anybody over, and mainly just become reclusive and a hermit in our house. Thank God for technology, or else this would have been so much harder. But regardless of technology, it was hard. Now, I never stopped working during COVID, not once, because the healthcare field was just on the move, constantly going. We don't really get breaks and holidays like everybody else because if we all go home, who's going to look after the people that we're helping, survive? The whole like, it's a holiday, you don't go to work. It's Christmas or New Year's, you don't go to work. We don't do that kind of stuff. We normally just go to work because we have to and we want to and we want to ensure that everyone's happy as much as possible. The first year of the lockdowns, we didn't even have enough people to cover for holidays or anything. And plus, a lot of us were so dedicated to making sure that everything went smoothly that we worked and worked and worked and worked and worked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm so proud of everyone that put in the effort and did their best. Oh my gosh, it was so hard and scary and frustrating and just overwhelming because at the time there wasn't any information or the information was all over the place and everyone was just scared. And that was pretty much just life up until 2021 when things were a little bit more knowledgeable, like we had more information, we had more measures put in place, there was more protection, and we had the vaccines that were helping, or at least helping like calm down the COVID if you were to catch COVID, just overall a little bit less stress, but the stress was still there because the numbers were still high. And one of the things that I focused on to keep my moods up and keep my mind out of pessimism was art and drawing. It alleviated my paranoia and the what ifs. Even though I was super cautious in following all what I was supposed to follow, it got me in touch with so many different people and so many imaginative minds that really helped me move forward in life. And I always have the thought that no matter how careful I am, at some point I will get COVID and there's nothing I can do about it. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't follow all the precautions that I've been putting in place and all the precautions everyone's been telling me to do. I just don't want to be the cause of someone else. I don't want to know I have it, be stupid with my sickness, and then accidentally give it to someone else. So, touching on recent events, 3 weeks ago, my partner was exposed to COVID, the new variant. He had a gut feeling he got sick, and lo and behold, he did. And it kicked his ass. It was horrible. And during that time, it was so painful to see him go through it. And I did my very best to take care of him. Thankfully, I was on vacation, so my first week of quarantine, I didn't have to worry about accidentally going to work and exposing my fellow teammates, but it was still just incredibly stressful. And oh man, like when you have someone in your life personally to you go through it, it's just so hard. I keep thinking to myself, because our apartment is quite small and not properly able to socially isolate, even at my best efforts, sleeping in a spare room, keeping my distance, cleaning as much surfaces as possible, closing the distance between the two of us as much as possible. Because of how contagious this variant is, I was like thinking to myself, why the heck am I not getting sick? I'm seeing my partner. He's so incredibly sick. Can't get out of bed, like this horrible fever. Just awful. He can't taste anything. And it was just so painful to watch him go through it. Like, I didn't want COVID to feel what he was going through. I kept thinking to myself, what the heck? Why not me? But I wasn't getting sick. I wasn't feeling symptoms. I wasn't feeling anything for that matter. Like, I got to the point where there were times where I forgot my PPE and I had to help him face to face where he was coughing and hacking. And I needed to be in his presence. And there was no way I couldn't have caught it. But I didn't. But that's when I found out I'm asymptomatic. I'm grateful because it's a relief to hear that, so I can take better care of my man without having to worry about getting sick. It's also scary because though to me, physically, health-wise, that's good, to other people, it's not, because asymptomatic people can have COVID and they can still spread it. They just don't feel anything. They don't get any symptoms. They don't test positive, but they can still have it. And that is so scary, but I've been as careful as possible, so there's only so much I can do about that. But it's still a concept of, it's a positive, but it's also a negative. It's a, yay, I don't have to go through these symptoms, but oh my gosh, if I had it, I could give it to my partner, or I could give it to my friends and family, or my co-workers, or my clients, and that's just another bucket of nerves. But it's something that I just have to put at the back of my mind, at least the paranoia of it, and just keep living my life and being careful and doing my best to not spread any germs. And trying to be inspired, especially in the last 3 weeks, has been pretty tricky. That's why my videos were a little bit different. Like the year video with the compilation of all the drawings. To be honest, I had no drawing ability in my mind at that time, because what I was currently going through was my man getting COVID. And that's all I had in my head. I picked up a pencil or my tablet pen and I just couldn't draw. I didn't have any time or space in my brain to think about art. And I managed to somehow muster up an idea for last week's video, but it was just a mess trying to plan out everything, what I was wanting to draw and the concept. And I'm so happy that you guys loved it so much, because it was a nightmare putting it together and just pushing and willing myself to draw. And this week, he's getting better, which is a relief. He most likely is going to go back to work which is great for him because he is not the type of person to be stuck home sick. But I'm so drained mentally, and I just haven't been able to will myself to draw. I spent all of Friday night staring at my sketch for today's video, willing myself to draw. I couldn't push myself. I was running out of time because I need to get this video out. And I know it's going to be late and it's not going to be at 12 p.m. like I said it was going to be, because that was my goal. It was my New Year goal, and already I'm breaking my New Year goal. It's a personal goal and I know that I'm the only one holding myself to it, but at least I'll get it out today, which is my goal, because I want to get it out once a week, because that's good, because it's part of my goal. But it was really, really hard. And thankfully I have my man, because he said, you know what? They'll forgive you. They're here for you. They're here for your ride. They've joined you. They won't be happy if you make yourself sick for them. Take a break. Go to bed early. Relax. Pick an art that isn't from your series. Draw it. Take your time. Don't rush. And something cool will pop out of your brain like it does. And you'll like it. Or you might don't like it, but you know what? They'll like it. It's all good. Don't worry. Why don't you talk in your video? That's normally helpful, right? And so I did. And this is what I'm doing, talking to all of you about my concerns and my stresses, and realizing that I need to be a little bit more softer on myself, because I can be quite hard. I followed his advice. I took rest. I didn't stress, and I took lots of breaths. And I drew and I watched movies as I drew, like I used to do, that I don't really do anymore, and maybe I should start doing that. And I produced what you're watching right now. So if you're still with me after this long conversation, thank you. I really do care about all of you. If you do have things you want to talk about, post them below. Or I do have my Discord link to my art community where you can reach out to me personally if you just need someone to chat to, because everyone needs someone to talk to, right? So feel free to send me a message and say, hey, I want to chat. Are you down? Because you know what? I am. So this is me wishing you guys a great, healthy new year, and as much positivity as the world is willing to give you, or as much as you can make for yourself with your friends and family. And I'll catch you next Sunday with a new series art, because I do have some ideas and I've been sketching slowly, peacefully, resting. Be sure, if you haven't already, to support this channel by leaving a like on the video and subscribing if you haven't. And I always love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on either the artwork that you saw or the topic that we've discussed. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of the video. Bye.